What's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and I was working on some other content, but then I got the bright idea, and I felt like it was only right. This is gonna be my thanks to my Georgia Bulldogs giving me a national championship. But this also helps out all of my Washington football team family members as well, and any fans of any NFL team. This is an all Georgia 7-round mock draft with realistic rounds. I'm gonna show y'all how to add some national champions and some winning culture to your roster. And the purpose of this is for you to get the best realistic picks at each round. Let's start with some rules. First of all, there's going to be a realistic range for players. I'm not drafting Jordan Davis in the first and Nakobe Dean in the second. Nakobe Dean is not making it out of this first round. Also, we're only dealing with guys that are draft eligible. That's rule number 2. So there will be no Brock Bowers in the first round, who will be the best tight end in college football until he leaves in 2 years. I know I'm going to shed a tear when he's gone. And then, of course, third, this is going to be a mock draft format. So with the dozens of draft eligible players we have to pick from, I'm only doing one per round along with an undrafted free agent as well. So out of all of the guys from Georgia that could potentially go into the first round, we're choosing one. Same thing with second round, same thing with third round, all of that type of stuff. And I'm gonna show y'all which sleepers you can add to your team, especially in the later rounds, that can help contribute to a winning culture. Because you're not just drafting talent, you're drafting a culture when you draft Georgia this year especially. And I know this picture on the screen is from 2017, but the picture was just too fire. I had to use it. Wasn't no way I wasn't gonna use this picture. There's no picture from the championship as tough as this one, so I had to throw that one on. I don't care when it happened. See Quavo with the that way chain. I saw somebody from Georgia tweeting that way. That's about as Atlanta as it gets right there. And before we dive into this, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately for every informative and opinionated video just like this one. And y'all know me, man, with the off season, I get really creative. Is when I put out my best content. So I'm gonna put out a lot of random stuff like this just for the fun of it. Of course, we're gonna do mock drafts centered around the Washington football team. I'm gonna do big boards and top draftable players at each position for just football fans everywhere, not just Washington football team fans. So everything draft, free agency, I got y'all, and the live streams will continue as well. I may even live stream some of these playoff games that are coming up. I'm definitely live streaming during the Senior Bowl because that's huge for all of those quarterbacks that are playing. It's like literally all of the top prospects except for Sam Howell, literally all of them. And then, of course, I'm also going to live stream February 2nd when the new name, logo, jerseys, the new identity, the whole thing, when that comes out, I'm dropping a video review on everything, of course. And then I'm also going to start up a live stream, and I'm going to open up the phone calls to where y'all can call in and give y'all opinions to the show as well. So stay tuned for all of the crazy content coming this offseason, man. We're about to have a really fun offseason, especially here at Street Scores. But without further ado, let's get it. Round 1, I have us taking linebacker Nakobe Dean. I had to, man. I love Jordan Davis. I love a lot of our players, but Nakobe Dean is your best bet at linebacker. And speaking of best bet, with each player that we take throughout this video, I'm gonna give y'all their best bet and their biggest worries. So why you should draft them and what you may need to worry about and be hesitant about as far as drafting these guys as well. Now, of course, Nakobe Dean's best bet, arguably best combination of speed and intelligence for a linebacker coming out of the draft in years. If we are talking about just straight up combination of sideline to sideline speed and IQ and instincts and leadership, Nakobe Dean is probably the best draftable linebacker in many years. You're also drafting a quarterback of the defense when you get him. And I'm not even just talking about his IQ and instincts, but I'm also talking about his leadership. When you draft Dean, you draft your Ray Lewis type of player as far as vocal leader, the guy that's going to hold the entire team accountable, get his guys motivated, yell in their face if he has to get them right. I mean, you saw him in the national championship. You saw the Channing Tindall series of plays. When Alabama was at the goal line, Channing Tindall blew a coverage, and Nakobe Dean had the, I don't even know how, he had the intelligence and athleticism to get there to make the play. It was literally Channing Tindall's responsibility. Somehow Nakobe Dean not only diagnosed everything that Alabama had going on the route Bryce Young's eyes, but he also noticed that Channing Tindall was not there to make the play, and he went up there and batted the ball down to stop an Alabama touchdown that could have been game-breaking early into the game. I mean, who knows if we would have recovered. And then, of course, Nakobe Dean, after the play, after making the great play, got in Channing Tindall's face, yelling at him like, bruh, focus up, like, get your head in the game, bro. We're here to win a championship and all of that type of stuff. Yelling at him. And shouts out to Channing Tindall for also taking the criticism well. I mean, he literally took it and used it as motivation rather than letting it shut him down or just getting an attitude about getting yelled at. He received it as well as he could, and not very few people can make a guy as talented as Channing Tindall listen to what he has to say, especially getting yelled at like that. And then soon afterwards, like a couple of plays later, either the next play or 2 plays later, Channing Tindall makes that huge play on Bryce Young to stop them from scoring a touchdown and to kick a field goal. And of course, who's there first to congratulate and hype up Channing Tindall? It's Nakobe Dean. That's that type of leadership that you're drafting. Literally changes the culture of a defense. Now his biggest worry, honestly, just his size. But first of all, that doesn't matter as much in today's NFL. And second, it hasn't mattered for him in the SEC against the biggest, strongest, fastest guys in college. He plays way bigger than his 6 foot, 250 pound size. And he may gain some NFL weight, even though with as electric as he is sideline to sideline, you may not want him to. I mean, this is an X5 star for a reason, and he only got better in college, and I'm predicting him to only get better at the NFL level. I mean, he's the type of guy that he's so smart and he's so confident in knowing what he's doing. The chances of him going to a bad defensive coach is quite likely at the NFL level, and I wouldn't be surprised if he just completely disobeys the defensive coordinator and makes great plays because of it. Defensive coordinator calls a bad coverage play. Nakobe Dean is like, this is stupid. I know what the offense is trying to do. I'll go make the play myself. I wouldn't be surprised if you see some of that at the NFL level, honestly. And not saying that he's going to be like a tyrant or a rebel, but he's just one of those guys that he may be smarter than your defensive coordinator, especially specifically at being a linebacker. The round 2, you have interior offensive lineman Jamaree Salyer. His best bet is that he's very versatile and he has a very high floor. He has no obvious weaknesses at all. I mean, there's things you can nitpick, but you're getting a day 1 starter when you draft him. And then he projects best at the NFL level as a guard, but he can also fill in at tackle if necessary because he played a lot of tackle at Georgia. You saw the way he hemmed up Aiden Hutchinson. He did a very good job against the potential number 1 overall pick in the draft. That alone should have risen his draft stock. Now, granted, I do have to admit, as a Georgia Bulldog fan, being completely objective, the Georgia Bulldogs also schemed Aiden Hutchinson out of that game. Like, they made sure they got the ball out of Stetson Bennett's hands quickly. We ran the ball to the opposite side away from him, kind of like how Clemson took Chase Young out of the game, just minus the double teaming. So Georgia did game plan against Aiden Hutchinson when Georgia played Michigan in the semifinals, but at the same time, Jamaree Salyer, even when it was just one-on-one, mano-a-mano, he played very well against, again, the number 1 overall pick in this draft potentially. Now, his biggest worry is that he's not an athletic freak with a very high ceiling. He's very safe and projects as a good NFL starter for sure. Like, I'd bet money on it. But I don't expect him to ever become like a Pro Bowl level player. You see what I'm saying? Like, he's going to be very consistent. He's going to be a very dependable starter, but I don't ever expect him to be elite because he's just not one of those high ceiling guys. But he's also a former 5-star from East Atlanta too. Atlanta's own right there. You saw him in the celebration video after the game talking about just a kid from Zone 6. I loved it. Then round 3, safety Lewis Seen. His best bet, he's only gotten better and better as time has passed. And as games have become more important, as moments have become bigger, like when we needed him the most is when he's played his best football. And he was all over the field against Alabama in the national championship game. And he fully deserved the Defensive Player of the Game award that he was given. I mean, he was shot out of a cannon on some of those big plays in space he made against Alabama. Crazy closing speed and a very sure tackle. I mean, sometimes a linebacker would miss a tackle, and Lewis Seen had to step up against Alabama to make the tackle to stop a touchdown one play. Now, his biggest worry to nitpick is probably his versatility, because he hasn't necessarily looked great at free safety. That was Christopher Smith's job for the most part, because Lewis Seen isn't very rangy and cannot just hold down running like a single high free safety role on his own at all. He works best underneath for sure, which basically projects him as a really tough and fast, but to be honest, a little skinny for being a strong safety type of strong safety. You add some weight and you may have a great strong safety on your hands. He's instinctual. Again, his closing speed is crazy and he's a very sure tackler, but I'm just a little worried about how skinny he is if he's going to just be a pure strong safety. And again, the reason I project him to be a pure strong safety is because he's not a very rangy free safety. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being a Pro Bowl level strong safety, but will that added weight take away some of that closing speed that he prides himself for having? But I think somebody may end up getting a steal in the second or third round for Lewis Cine. I really do. I think honestly, before the playoffs started, before this national championship game, Lewis Cine may have made it to the third or fourth round, but the way he played, again winning defensive player of the day, he may honestly for real not even make it to the third round. He's quite likely to go into the second round, but I'm still putting him in the third round because I had to highlight him. This is a realistic mock draft, but there was no way we were going without talking about Lewis Cine in this video. There was no way. Then round 4, you have wide receiver George Pickens, and his best bet, without a major injury in last season's bowl game, in a fully healthy 2021 season, not spent recovering until late December, he would have had a very good chance to be wide receiver 1 in this draft. I think easily. Me personally, I think if he were fully healthy this season, he would have been wide receiver 1, even with this crazy class that's coming up. You can definitely argue that Pickens is the most well-rounded receiver in this draft for sure. If we're talking about athleticism mixed with route running, mixed with ridiculous hands, natural catchability, and then some dog alpha mentality, leadership, and ability to make plays when it matters most type of gene. Not everybody has that gene. There's a lot of great route runners. There's guys with a lot of great hands, but not everybody can make the game-winning catch, the big catch when you need it most in the clutch time. Not everybody has that gene, that ick factor. He has that. And to me, he's basically just a 1 inch taller and slightly faster Keenan Allen as far as his size and route running versatility and attention to detail with his route running. And my favorite part about him is his hands. First of all, his deep ball speed that he showed before he got hurt in last year's bowl game, and then he basically did the same exact play with the same situation. I mean, it was like almost a mirror image from what he did against Cincinnati in the bowl game last year before he got hurt to what he did against Alabama in this national championship on Monday. I mean, his deep ball speed is crazy. But on top of all of that, the way he had to dive for that deep pass, first of all, as you can see in the picture, and then how he also turned his body around mid-air to land on his back and his side so that he wouldn't belly flop on the ball and allow it to pop out. That's the biggest mistake a lot of receivers make. Even at the NFL level, a lot of receivers land on the ball as they're trying to catch it, and even though they technically secured the catch out of the air, as they're landing on the ball with all of their body weight, it pops out. Pickens already naturally makes those type of catches and knows how to contort his body to be able to not land on the ball and allow it to pop out. He also has like really good toe drag ability to make crazy catches along the sideline and in the corner in the end zone on fade routes and stuff like that. But as burgundy and gold fans, we vividly remember a special receiver named Josh Doctson that would make crazy catches, but as he's coming down, he lands on the ball with his stomach and then the ball would pop out. If anybody remembers that nightmare, it's the burgundy and gold fans. George Pickens is already elite at making sure that doesn't happen. And then on top of that, I mean, he just makes the type of plays that sparks something into his team. Because that big play against Alabama, the deep ball, was like the first real meaningful offensive play for Georgia in that game. Like, it gave our offense life. The team was struggling to move the ball and get points, and then all you got to do, target Pickens and allow him to bring some life and hope back into your team. That can easily translate to the NFL level. He's just one of those guys that just sparks a fuse in the team. Their offense is struggling, slow, can't get anything moving. Just throw the ball to George Pickens. He'll make something shake. You're never out of hope when you have a receiver with an it factor like that. Now, his biggest worry is really the off the field, on the field concerns. Like, the antics he's gotten into in games is really my only worry. Because his major injury was like one thing. He's not an injury prone player. That was like just a one-time thing. But the fights and him holding his water bottle at his waist and spraying it on an opposing team's quarterback as he fell out of bounds in one of the games that he played before he got hurt in the 2020 season is just crazy. Like, the antics are just wild, but he's never had the off the field concerns like weed or DUIs, arguing with coaches, not being motivated, not practicing, not film watching, none of those. But on the field, And it's only been a couple of instances, but still, it's happened, and that's honestly my only concern. It's kind of nitpicky though, because again, it's only been like 2 or 3 situations, because he's a workaholic. He's a great vocal leader. He's all of that. First one in the building, last one out the building, all of that type of stuff. But at the same time, he's a huge trash talker, and some teams may not even want to deal with those type of antics. Who knows? Maybe he gets to the NFL level and calms down, but he definitely has a little bit of Chad Johnson in him when it comes to that type of stuff, which I personally love. I prefer as many players like that on my team, but I can see why some GMs would prefer to avoid that. Then round 5, running back James Cook, Dalvin Cook's brother, for some of y'all who may not actually know that. I mean, coming out of high school, he was a 5-star running back. It's crazy that he wasn't talked about much, but then again, Georgia's running back we have like 5-star running backs on the roster at a time, so he kind of was just a part of the running back community that we have going. But his best bet is being a dynamic scat back. His ability to separate against linebackers mixed with his great catching ability makes him potentially a deadly change of pace back at the NFL level. I mean, Georgia even sometimes had him lined up all the way outside, like the furthest away from the quarterback, like literally the X receiver on some plays. He would just light him up, or he'll come around on a wheel route, beat whatever linebacker was tasked with covering him, and beat him by like a clean 5 yards, easy touchdown down the field. And he can make over the shoulder catches and everything. To me, he's basically like JD McKissick with a little bit better receiving ability, but at the same time, nowhere near as great of a pass protector. Maybe he can gain that at the NFL level, but one thing I love about JD McKissick and why the Washington football team really needs to sign him is because he's easily, you could argue by far, our best pass protecting running back on the team, even though he's not even the biggest and strongest. James Cook doesn't have that yet, but if you just need a guy to go out there and run routes out of the backfield, he is a wheel route killer. Him lined up in coverage against any linebacker is food for him, even at the NFL level, I'm gonna assume. But his biggest worry is, one, he's not the fastest guy doing it, which, you know, kind of sucks for him with his calling card basically being his speed and his agility. He's not going to be one of those elite speed guys, I don't believe. I mean, he even kind of got chased down against Alabama. Now, granted, Alabama has some freak athletes on their team, just like Georgia does. It's the SEC. It's the cream of the crop when it comes to athletes as far as speed, strength, and all of that type of stuff. But he still got hawked down on that play, which, you know, reaffirmed the fact that he doesn't have like elite level breakaway speed like that. And then also, number 2, of course, with his play style and build, he will probably never be a full-time back, a lead back like his brother Dalvin Cook, a run between the tackles type of back, a 20 carries a game type of guy. But in a fast-paced, pass-heavy offense, he will be some offensive coordinator's dream prospect. Watch. Somebody's going to do backflips when they get him later in the draft, I'm telling you. Some team is going to be really happy they got him, as long as the offensive coordinator just takes the time to use his strengths to the best of their ability. Then round 6, cornerback William Poole, and this is Mr. Playmaker himself. Go back and look at that natty game right there, Georgia versus Alabama, bruh. That man stepped up big, and it is so crazy because his college story is wild. I mean, he literally played more snaps in the final 5 games of this season with 247 than he did his previous 4 seasons worth of games that he played, 236. Like, as soon as Georgia needed him, he stepped up to the plate big time. Again, he didn't really even get for real minutes at any point in his college career until these last 5 games going into the playoffs and this national championship. And he balled out, man. First of all, he had a career high 85 snaps. So out of the 247 snaps he had the last 5 games, he had 85 this game alone. And again, the previous 4 seasons before this last 5 games, he had 236 total snaps. Again, he had 85 against Alabama. Like, this was the most he's ever played. This was a big moment for him, and he stepped up huge. Pro Football Focus even graded him the best defender out of the entire national championship with an 80.9 grade. He only allowed 29 yards on 9 targets, and he had 2 big pass breakups, like really big, like 3rd down, 1-on-1, the only guy even in the area to make a play, and he bats the ball down and forces Alabama to punt. I mean, he was huge for us, and I feel like since he doesn't have that great of a resume and he's not like the most elite athlete, he's definitely going to slide in this draft. He may even make it to the 7th round. We'll see. But I'm pretty sure somebody's going to look at the Alabama tape and be like, hey, I like what I saw right here. I don't know why Georgia didn't use him more sooner, but like, man, this guy looks like he can be something different at the NFL level. I'm pretty sure somebody's going to take a chance on him, and they're going to end up getting a pretty solid cornerback because he was huge for us. I wouldn't necessarily say we wouldn't have won that game without him, but it definitely would have been a different game. Alabama definitely would have scored a different amount of points if he weren't on that field playing like how he was. And then my biggest worry, of course, is just the late bloom and lack of playing time time in his college career. He doesn't have a lot of experience, even though he is a senior. He just never really got starter minutes until these last 5 games of this season, his senior season. But he stepped up big when they asked him to, and I hope he carries that momentum going into the NFL. Maybe he ends up being one of the best sleeper corners out of this draft. We'll see. But again, if you have a worry, it's just the fact that he came out of nowhere and he bloomed so late. But his man coverage is really sticky. Again, just go look at the Alabama game. Watch 31, man. He was out there doing his thing. There's a reason Pro Football Focus graded him the highest defender from the game. I'm not saying that he was the best defender. I liked what Lewis Seen did, N'Kobe Dean, Jordan Davis, a lot of those other guys. I felt like they had a larger impact, but I can see based on how well he covered and especially how big of a moment that was for him that Pro Football Focus felt like he was the best defensive player in that game, at least from Georgia. Or with the way Pro Football Focus grades things, you could say like the most consistent. Maybe not the best, but the most consistent. Then round 7, tight end Jon Fitzpatrick. And honestly, his best bet is you're just banking on his size and potential. In the 7th round is the time to do that. At 6'6", 230 pounds, he came out of high school playing tight end and defensive end, so he's fairly athletic. And I think in the later rounds, why not take a chance on a guy with these type of measurables? You can't teach his size. Take him as a ball of clay that you can mold into a good player. Again, it's a big just taking a chance on a guy, but again, in the 7th round, what does it hurt? And he's definitely gonna make it somewhere far into the draft. At the very earliest, I think 6th round, he may even go undrafted, and that takes me to my biggest worry. The reason that he's likely to go undrafted is because of his lack of production. I know Georgia has a lot of elite talent, but only 17 catches in his college career, only 6 catches this entire season. Not a lot of playing time, so he's raw in a lot of areas, not very productive. You're literally just taking a ball of clay and hoping that you can mold him into something special. Again, you cannot teach his size. And then my undrafted free agent, I have to go quarterback Stetson Bennett, man. Best bet, he is a winner. That's all I know. You can nitpick all you want, arm strength, vision, pocket presence. You can nitpick all you want, but at the end of the day, that's my quarterback. He's one of the main reasons that we won that game. Not to say that we couldn't have had another quarterback come in and do the same thing, but at the end of the day, Stetson Bennett won Georgia his first national championship in 41 years. And we'll be eternally grateful for that no matter what. Which takes me to my biggest worry. I'm not exactly sure if he's an NFL talent, to be completely honest, to be completely objective. Even as much as I love Stetson Bennett, even as much of a hero and a king he is in the state of Georgia, especially in the cities of Atlanta and Athens. I mean, he can get anything for free that he wants. You want a house, you want a meal, he can go anywhere and get anything for free. He's eternal in this state. Kind of like Nick Foles for Philadelphia, but I think it's even more impactful what Stetson Bennett did, especially with this story and everything. And I mean, Philadelphia does have some crazy fans and they're very passionate, but nothing gets more passionate as football in the South, especially Georgia. So he's just a walking hero from now on. Again, he can get anything he wants, but at the same time, again, back to my biggest worry, I'm not sure if he's an NFL talent. Maybe his ceiling is like NFL backup, you know what I'm saying? And even then, so I think honestly he may go undrafted. I think it's actually very likely he goes undrafted. I'd be surprised if he does get drafted, but still, man, hey, Stetson Bennett, you good around here no matter what, man, forever. Don't let nobody ever tell you different. That man should never have to work another day in his life. Even if he doesn't make it in the NFL, he deserves some type of job in football. He needs to go back to Georgia and just get placed on the payroll as a championship winner. That should be his job description. Just chill around, hang with the players all day, maybe help with a little bit of recruiting, maybe hold a clipboard or two, but his job description should be national champion, and he should get paid every year just for that. But yeah, man, that's the end of this mock draft. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about all these players. As a Washington football team fan, as an NFL fan of any team, let me know which players you are most excited about signing, and any players that I didn't include in this video, like most notably Jordan Davis or Zamir White. There were a lot of great Georgia players left off of this mock draft, but again, I just tried to go with the best choice available in each round. So definitely get in the comment section and let me know what other Georgia players you would love for your team to potentially draft or even potentially pick up as an undrafted free agent. Again, especially my Washington football team fans, because y'all know we have pretty serious needs at middle linebacker, free safety, receiver, guard, because it looks like Brandon Sheriff's about to dip up out of here for real this time. And if we don't re-sign JD McKissick, maybe even a third down running back. But yeah, man, definitely get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything in this video. And do you enjoy videos like this? Do you want more creative videos like this? Like, should I do this for another team, maybe like Alabama or something like that? Definitely get in the comment section, let me know that. Also, please like this video if you liked it or if you learned anything. And as always, I appreciate all of the support, man. Shouts out to everybody that subscribed to the channel. Shouts out to everybody that pulls up to the streams. Shouts out to everybody that donates to the streams. And of course, a special shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now. Man, I really appreciate y'all. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.